But I corrected them, sir. And when my wife tried to prevent me from doing my duty, I corrected her.
A photographically obsessive Kubrick cuts between disparate states of clarity. Lit by the hotel's shine, a grayed and fugal backlit Grady is contrasted with a sharply backlit Danny and Wendy. Notice how the framing reconfigures the elevator's T-shaped mask on the mirror behind them. Wendy attempts to communicate with Danny, who is traveling by shining to summon Halloran for a rescue. Kubrick illustrates the shine Danny projects through the building's light paths and out towards Halloran. Observe Hallorann's scenes. Each has a subtle glow of Danny's shine on him, even in the phone booth. He is following a light path the film subtly illustrates for us. Tony responds to Wendy's questioning, much like he does at the beginning. Their scene is filmed in the darkest state the movie allows, offset by the starkest fill of bright, shined light. Danny looks directly at the audience as he shines, contracting an unconsciously time-split series of focal points. Jack's view from the bed into the mirror's reflection at the bathroom door, creating layered eye contact. Meanwhile, as Jack roams the hotel, he hears the Forest Service attempting to make contact. Intent on severing ties to the outside world, he dismantles the radio. In doing so, he takes on the role of HAL 9000, who exploited potential radio failure as a ruse to kill. Hal preyed on his shipmate's fear of isolation, and Jack now begins converting his choices into murder. Ironically, Jack recreates Bowman's action of shutting Hal down while simultaneously behaving like Hal. This positions Jack in direct conflict with Wendy's earlier use of the radio. Crucially, Jack's action is futile because Danny bypasses the radio entirely. The hotel itself acts as a transmitter with a range hundreds of times wider. Kubrick begins revealing some key elements previously unseen, such as Ullman's outer office door. Soon we will get a closer look at the kitchen's doors, drawing us further into the hotel's layered design. Halloran receives no response to the Ranger's call, so he boards a continental flight, a reference to the continent's divide. His outfit mirrors the plane's brown and umber hues, earthy, native colors. The plane heads toward distant snow-capped peaks, symbolic of the Overlook's snowy isolation. It descends into the pure white of a blizzard, creating a sly alternate version of the film's opening flyovers, which began with metaphysical flying but are now experienced as physical flight. Halloran is often shown strictly in profile, subtly mimicking the Calumet chief's simplified depiction. This visual choice suggests he is less enslaved to the reflective power that eventually traps Jack, who is frequently framed face forward. Halloran glances back at the stewardess to ask when they will arrive, but his attention ultimately shifts forward. His forward-facing right side is made knowable, as Kubrick carefully includes directional elements in every shot. Light fixtures are prominently featured in each ground shot, standing in for the absent sun and marking Danny's subtle path. As the plane lands, the runway light structures dissolve into the desk, the stairs, and the two side staircases that lead up into the plane. Lights transition across 3 shots, further emphasizing the interconnected design of Kubrick's visual storytelling. Halloran's call to Durkin mirrors Jack's first call to Wendy. Larry crosses into the speaking area and is framed in reverse to Wendy's earlier positioning. With the TV present, there's a sense that Danny is watching, mirroring the earlier scene's reversed TV appearance. On the other end, Halloran is framed opposite Jack's angle in the hotel lobby. The outer edge of Halloran's phone carousel is curved, resembling the airplane's windows, while the angle of his car window mirrors the plane's tail. When Larry turns his body, his demeanor immediately becomes warmer and more inclusive, revealing in a single scene a complete reversal of perspective. In the airport, as in most scenes involving communication, a dividing vertical line is present, with Halloran's face perfectly centered. Larry may even be turning in Halloran's direction, much like Wendy is framed in her sequence with the Forest Ranger. As Halloran's journey continues westward by car, he encounters a traffic accident. He is receiving a shine as he drives, with the view alternating to a side profile of Halloran. Notice the angles of the car window's edge in these shots. A red VW Beetle is crushed beneath a jackknife tractor trailer, a shot devoid of any glimmer of light, adhering to the film's nightmarish lighting schema. This scene mirrors the opening car journey, following the same path but now engulfed in vast snow, symbolically ending as it begins. It serves as a reflection of Jack's own impending doom. Wendy and Danny recreate their picnic campfire moment from the film's opening. Their clothes suggest symbolic absorption. Wendy wears Jack's interview shirt, while Danny is dressed in Hallorann's outfit. Wendy wearing Jack's clothes as she leaves represents a transfer. Cartoon music perfectly accompanies her withdrawal with the bat, a Louisville slugger, an iconic American baseball tool now repurposed as a weapon. The Disney and Warner Bros. Animation references now inhabit the adults, blending archetypes and time distortions into a genre-bending futurism. A key Disney innovation, paradoxical timing that shifts between nightmare and comedy, was later adapted by Warner Bros. These elements are subtly infused throughout the film, providing another rationale for the animated origins of its genre. Kubrick suggests that the ghosts are mere animations of archetypes, like the stickers on Danny's walls in Boulder coming to life. These spectral beings, tied to the hotel itself, move mechanically and lifelessly, yet eerily feel real. They exist as animations governed by the Disney rulebook. Chocolate, tobacco, baseball, all connect back to the ball behind Danny's head in his opening shot. That coyote is really a crazy clown. When will he learn he can never mow him down? Poor little roadrunner never bothers anyone, just running down the road's his idea of having fun. Wendy ventures into the Colorado lounge, centered in every shot until Jack arrives. She finally gets a good look at his arduous typing. Once we see his novel-sized rant, Kubrick's intent becomes clear. The Shining is a story of language disconnection. The ultimate horror is using a language that has lost all meaning, a breakdown that, if pushed to completion, would render storytelling itself impossible. Instead, Kubrick carefully manipulates meaning, ramping up and easing off the disconnection until the climax. By the end, Jack's sentences devolve into futile explosions, and the murders he attempts serve as his desperate effort to restore meaning or prove that meaning still exists. These acts are both evidence of his madness. He has become as dull, monotonous, and robotically controlled as Grady, and a reflection of his permanently fractured identity. Wendy reads the book backward, though it ultimately doesn't matter which direction she reads it. The page in the typewriter is deliberately faked. It's placed mid-page, yet typing appears both below and above the typing line. Jack wants her to see it. He knows the shock might render her vulnerable enough to be easily murdered. The placement of the page, resembling a yellow head-chopping blade, makes the symbolism even less subliminal. The second shot of Wendy reminds us that the lights are on only upstairs, both a lure set by the hotel to draw Wendy and a symbolic reminder that Jack is descending. His level is the realm of the dead. The book itself is a parody of English, a continuous sentence repeated endlessly. In a sense, isn't the book essentially shined? Jack has trans-typed an introductory sentence taught to children as a basic structural device. Like Danny, Jack is slipping into other timescales. Perhaps it's his first learned phrase, much like HAL 9000's first taught song, Daisy. Jack regurgitates this phrase throughout the film without ever speaking it aloud. It mirrors 2001: A Space Odyssey and places Jack in a near-death, subordinate state. The yellow paper contrasts with the sand painting motifs seen in Wendy's jacket and the centerpiece of the Colorado lounge. As a subtle, reversed bookend, consider the Roadrunner theme. Jack's writing is below even Danny's comprehension level. Jack emerges from the shadows as if he is a manifestation of the photos, and as he moves to the table, he becomes bathed in a shining light that gives him a ghostly, wild appearance. His demeanor is transformed, light, cheerful, and unnervingly drugged by single-minded madness. He is regressing, much like Hal in his death throes. Jack's consciousness is ebbing, and what remains is a version of Jack minus his soul, now trapped in an alternate reality. Danny's reverse shot reveals the apartment's false doors, subtly shining. Danny's endgame begins as he appears dressed in brown and red, his eyes glowing with the shine that emanates from the hotel. He holds a glass of chocolate, engaging in what feels like a pre-killing ritual drink. The REDRUM door is shown from a low angle, mimicking Jack's later view from the lower part of the dry storage doorway. Take note of the false door behind Danny. It's a reverse of the bathroom door, with the knob positioned on the left. She offers him suggestions about Danny, and the discussion escalates into a prelude rant to violence. Do you have the slightest idea what a moral and ethical principle is, do you? Have you ever had a single moment's thought about my responsibilities? Jack's discourse is now no longer about shared information. Earlier, at least, his lies have meaning as shared data, in pure contrast. Now solely he controls the definitions of the words he's speaking, asserting godlike control. The language no longer has any shared meaning. The role of the alphabet has merged with the role of the container the hotel provides. It is false-facing, a theme taken directly from the book, now made subtler, visible yet unconscious, unexplained. Jack is psyching himself up to kill her by exploiting spoken language. Danny hears the conversation and sees the tail end of the blood flooding. The elevator bleeding is overlapped in time release each time it is shown. The liquid has colored the lens and causes everything to seem red, and Jack's voice is distorted like the reddened view. It sounds underwater. Wendy moves backwards quickly to a powerful stance once above him on the stairs. As she is crowned by lighting fixture, Jack makes his move. "Gimme the bat," is achieved, and is met by two glancing blows of a Louisville slugger, a mirror to the Jack Daniels, another form of Louisville slugging, and falls to the landing below. Wendy dulls him, then slices his hand. In effect, she preps him for Danny's confusing maze lure. Jack is dragged into the dry storage locker, drooling like Danny. Wendy locks him inside, securing the door. She retrieves a stabbing weapon from horizon level, an arrow-like form first seen in the opening shot. Jack taunts her, promising there are some big surprises waiting for her. Inside the locker, Jack faces the doorway upside down, creating a negative, monolithic space reminiscent of the interview framing and the REDRUM door, as well as the upper staircase framing in the Colorado lounge. Wendy inspects the radio and the snowcat, only to find both have been tampered with and rendered useless. An exterior establishing shot shows a white foreground and background with towering trees that appear to bend toward the hotel. In a reversal of the earlier sleeping scene, Jack is now shown asleep on flour bags. Grady calls to him from outside the door. His presence is never seen, only his voice heard from the other side. The door's opening is loud, one of the most jarring sounds in the film. Grady's purpose is clear, to ensure Jack completes their business. Halloran's snowcat moves through the forest, which resembles a magnified hedge maze. In the third establishing shot, Halloran is shown facing right, centered, as he pilots his way toward the Overlook. The snowcat mirrors the pods in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Both serve as rescue vehicles from oppressive, decaying environments. In this case, they provide the potential for final escape from the spiritually deteriorating structures of the Overlook and the Discovery. Danny appears to walk out of the apartment's mirror and begins an incantation, blessing the blade with his own blood. A blood rite, since it will be used to snare his father, and using his mother's lipstick for blood writing. His chant places him in another dimension. He is inside the mirror world, while Tony inhabits this one in his place. It is an act of telepathism. He's flying. Unlike Jack, it is easy to tell when Danny is in the mirror world. He allows Tony to speak for him and maintains a rigorous sense of identity. Danny now appears in banded orange and brown colors. He chants until Danny himself returns, his arrival coinciding with Jack's. The hotel gives you two names once it kills you, but Danny intentionally takes one while still alive, blocking the hotel's menace. Jack begins to use pop references, fairy tales, and television monologues to narrate his slaughter. "Wendy, I'm home. Little pigs, let me come in." Wendy hurls her knife into the sink, aiming toward the window, sending Danny outside, where he slides down a snowbank. When she spins back from the window to confront Jack's blows, the knife is now aimed at the door. Danny escapes via a snowslide. Here's Johnny marks a subtle progression of the TV's role as a window to the outside world. Jack's face framing becomes as integral as the TV itself. He is depicted as part of the hotel's furnishings, almost animated by its influence. This foreshadows his eventual fate. He will become a part of the walls, mirroring the poster image's subtle message. Danny's success ensures that Jack becomes metaphorically trapped within the hotel, incorporeal and absorbed into its essence. The REDRUM doorway mirrors the initial POV through the mirror during the breakfast in bed scene. Jack has symbolically been looking at us from his bed through the REDRUM surface and into the bathroom, creating a memory-like animation of perspective. Wendy marks the bathroom's surface with red, continuing the theme of the bathroom as an absorber of symbolic elements. This is the first bathroom scene where red becomes literal. Wendy seems to grasp the ritual significance, symbolically integrating Jack into the house. Her actions coincide with the imagery of red flowing from the elevator, reinforcing the idea of transformation. Outside, the incongruous noise of a second snowcat, its red-on-white design, interrupts the moment, suspending Jack's pursuit. His track to Ullman's office covers yet another angle. The staircase viewed is used only in the film's first scene. Wendy ascends and encounters the bear from the earlier scene in Danny's bedroom, visible in the doctor's mirror during his examination. Now the bear is involved in a disturbing tableau, a reversal of Danny's innocent resting upon it. Wendy's fear of this image mirrors the audience's reaction, subconscious and unsettling. She, like the audience, no longer recalls the earlier bed scene. The hotel manipulates her unconscious, creating reflective imagery tied to her buried memories. The color scheme reinforces this separation. Blues dominate Wendy's vision with the bear, while reds accompany Jack's movements through the corridor toward the outdoors. Outside, the perspective shifts to blue again in a sweeping view, where Danny awaits his father's gaze. Jack tracks Danny to an exit, passing by a corridor that mimics the lobby's ending. Outside, near Halloran's snowcat, Danny waits for his pursuer, subtly challenging the idea of who is truly chasing whom. Jack illuminates the exterior and the maze, prompting Danny to run toward it. This moment reveals a crucial element of the film. Danny heads toward an entrance to the maze that was never shown before. The maze's disoriented presentation has left the audience unaware that Danny is essentially shining through nature, intuitively finding an alternate route. This guarantees his ability to trap his father, who lacks any knowledge of this maze's true flow. Jack is confined to his understanding of the maze as a rigid, right-angled structure. Once inside, Danny carefully plots both his entrance and escape, choosing the ideal spot to retrace his steps. Walking backward, he mirrors the actions of Wendy earlier in the film, as well as Jack escaping the hag. Meanwhile, Wendy experiences numerous apparitions as she navigates the hotel, eventually encountering a red elevator face that transitions sharply to the maze's pronounced blue tones. Wendy moves through two versions of the lobby, or two different states of it, via the kitchen. Her journey parallels Danny's discovery of the new maze entrance, emphasizing the shifting, fluid nature of the Overlook spaces. The nighttime maze's cold blue hues contrast starkly with its earlier green tones, presenting a memory in reverse. The film's color palette reaches its peak, with the separation and dominance of each color fully realized. The apparition run. After running through the scattered circular objects Jack dispersed, Wendy encounters a bloodied, disheveled man who startles her into fleeing in the opposite direction, through the double doors leading to the kitchen. This moment marks our first clear view of the kitchen's doors, which notably resemble the elevator doors. This entrance further establishes the kitchen as a portal within the hotel. Like in the board game Clue, the kitchen's entrances inexplicably connect to multiple locations. Wendy initially departs the kitchen at the beginning of the film near the gold ballroom doors, but now enters it from across the lobby and on the opposite side of her first entrance. The kitchen defies conventional spatial logic, functioning as a portal whose structure must be experienced to be understood. The bloodied man bears an injury resembling Jack's wound inflicted by Wendy, and he wears a tuxedo identical to the one Jack will wear in the photo. This apparition is a composite, representing multiple elements within the film and bridging the line between the physical world and the photograph brought to life. As a film marketed in Europe with the double entendre tagline, The wave of terror that swept America, The Shining explores the conquest and appropriation of idealized forms of continental cosmology by Europeans. Set in northern Colorado, the Overlook Hotel is layered at right angles with Navajo and Apache art, tribes located far to the south and not native to the timberline area where the hotel resides. This choice overlooks the presence of nearby tribes whose equally intricate and extensive art forms could have been represented. Even Colorado's name itself derives from a significant tribal group. The film's introduction features imagery rooted in Blackfoot cosmology, such as St. Mary Lake, the Mountain Gods, and the Going to the Sun Road, geographically tied to Wyoming, far from the Overlook's location. Nowhere in the narrative is there mention of the tribe whose sacred burial ground the hotel is said to have desecrated by its construction. Kubrick concludes the film with a sublime nod to the curse of Chief Cornstalk, a Shawnee leader from an eastern tribe, further blending disparate tribal references into the film's layered narrative of displacement. She discovers the new hotel lobby, our penultimate view of the lobby, now unlit from within, with a pallor of moonlight drifting in at the same angle as the sunlight that previously defined the maze's geometry. Ghostly cobwebs suggest the lobby's true state, revealing how it appears to its spectral inhabitants. This is the hotel in its pure, shining state, the dead still present, cobwebs connecting skeletons frozen in time. Even Grady appears, his distinct hairstyle intact. The mirror is now visible without being a mirror, a withdrawal of the lobby's once illuminated power. She is shown all four directions, with death present in each, a skeleton or a photo in every view. Behind her is the photo wall her husband will ultimately become part of, positioned as though it exists in her past. The frames on the wall are vibrant photographs of death, frozen in time, an eerie animation of the photos themselves and their layered sense of time. Danny walks backward, carefully retracing each step, moving away from the spot where Jack will eventually be trapped. His movements mirror Wendy's earlier actions before she struck Jack. As Danny disappears from view, Jack is deceived by his son's incomplete footprints. This act of outsmarting Jack activates the hotel's ritualistic bleeding, as it already possesses his soul. Now it claims his life essence, trapping it within the maze. The maze bleeds visibly to Wendy, symbolizing Jack's sacrifice. Danny and Wendy experience different perspectives of the same event. Jack's death and absorption into the hotel are portrayed as a portal in blood. The hotel understands that Jack cannot escape. It holds his mind as well as his body. The ritual concludes with Jack's physical death, his low moans signaling the end. Danny, understanding the purpose of his prescient vision, has successfully used it to save himself and see beyond the present, perceiving his mother's actions from a future vantage point. Kubrick subtly adjusts the elevator's orientation, framing the single red shape of the elevator door as a monolith-like figure, dead center. As Jack stumbles and collapses into a seated position, he is framed by a rectangular light, echoing the framed photo he is about to be absorbed into. The parting curtains resemble the walls of the maze, reinforcing the visual and thematic connection. This final image merges Jack into the hotel's collection of souls, an echo of all the previous sacrifices. The rectangular light also mirrors the film's projected ratio, 1:1.85, aligning with Kubrick's motif of transitions and animations into eternity. Jack's seated position mimics the skeletons Wendy encountered in the lobby, symbolizing Kubrick's seamless integration of scales and states into this climactic shot. Jack is frozen in the light of day and the flash of a bulb, creating a continuum between the present and the past. The frozen whites of his eyes now resemble the elevator floor indicator's radials, inverted. This fuses his gaze from the Colorado lounge, the black sweater, and the underside view at the storage door. Is this his final mask? Crucially, we see Jack as two ghosts, the frozen, lifeless figure outside and the youthful, vibrant spirit in the photograph. He is not yet an active part of the hotel's animation, but instead a piece of frozen evidence. A long tracking shot, reminiscent of Jack's initial crossing into the hotel, paired with ballroom music, reveals his stare, dead and ancient, fixed upon us. He never displayed this stare in life, but the hotel has added him to the photograph once his soul was trapped. The central paradox remains. When did this happen? Kubrick subtly suggests that Jack has always been a ghost, now returned to where he belongs. The photograph's medium, 35mm, matches that of the film itself, blurring the line between what we watch and what exists within the hotel. Unlike the ending of 2001: A Space Odyssey, which presents a living, conscious being as vast as the Earth, engaging us directly, this finale shrinks Jack into the photographic grain. The flash of the bulb captures him, a fragment of a second, dissolving time from limitless scales. Interview to month to day to hour to this single instant, 1/60th of a second. The audience of ghosts within the photograph mirrors the living audience watching the movie. The ending date, July 4th, 1921, carries obvious connotations. The US's Independence Day, the Overlook's road construction, Wilsonian idealism, but also more obscure ones. On this same date in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, lightning struck and destroyed a monument honoring Chief Cornstalk of the Shawnee for the second time, reinforcing a legendary curse. Chief Cornstalk had offered himself peacefully to the US government during the Revolutionary War to prevent the Shawnee from joining the Royalist cause. Instead, he was murdered in false retaliation. His mythic dying words cursed the land, calling for blight, paralyzation, and a stain of blood upon its strength. Kubrick draws a connection between this historical event and the film's flash of light, animating the moment as a shine. The photograph's flash parallels the lightning strike, both serving as portals to a fixed moment in time. Kubrick embeds this symbolism further with the death scene's bathroom ceiling, anointed with a lightning mirror, extending the Cornstalk curse into the film's mythic language. The end credits, accompanied by Midnight, the Stars and You, allude to the witching hour and the Nightway ceremony. The film never shows the moon or stars, keeping its cosmology confined to the Overlook. The credits audio includes applause from the 1920s, tying directly to the sound within the photograph itself. The murmurs of the audience in the ballroom mirror those of the living audience leaving the theater, blending the temporal and spatial realms one last time. The day of wrath, that day which will reduce the world to ashes as foretold by David and the Sibyl. What terror there will be when the Lord will come to judge all rigorously. The trumpet, scattering a wondrous sound among the graves of all the lands, will assemble all before the throne. Death and nature will be astounded when they see a creature rise again to answer to the judge. The book will be brought forth in which all deeds are noted, for which humanity will answer. When the judge will be seated, all that is hidden will appear, and nothing will go unpunished. Alas, what will I then say? To what advocate shall I appeal when even the just tremble? O King of redoubtable majesty, who freely saves the elect, save me, O fount of piety. Remember, merciful Jesus, that I am the cause of your journey. Do not lose me on that day. You wearied yourself in finding me. You have redeemed me through the cross. Let not such great efforts be in vain. O Judge of vengeance, justly make a gift of your forgiveness before the day of reckoning. I lament like a guilty one. My faults cause me to blush. I beg you, spare me. You who have absolved Mary and have heard the thief's prayer have also given me hope. My prayers are not worthy, but you, O good one, please grant freely that I do not burn in the eternal fire. Give me a place among the sheep, separate me from the goats by placing me at your right. Having destroyed the accursed, condemned them to the fierce flames, count me among the blessed. I prostrate myself supplicating, my heart in ashes repentant, take good care of my last moment. That tearful day, when from the ashes shall rise again sinful man to be judged. Therefore pardon him, O God. Merciful Lord Jesus, give them rest. Amen.